Welcome to Talking Buffalo, featuring conversations with guests from around the world of sports, media, pop culture, and all things Buffalo. With your host, Patrick Moran.
All right, what is going on, everybody? How you doing? Welcome to another episode of Talking Buffalo, your weekday daily driver for Buffalo sports talk and more. My name is Patrick Moran. Big thank you as always to everybody out there for watching, listening, following, subscribing. I do appreciate y'all very, very much. Today's episode is presented by Imperial Pizza, one of the very best pizza wing food spots in all of Western New York, now with 2 locations, Abbott Road in South Buffalo, of course, and their newer location, 1665 Main Street. If you have not been there yet, go check it out. It is fantastic. This is our Monday episode. I need to preface something before I bring in my guests and we get cooking here in just a second. I am recording this actually late on Thursday night. We're going to be talking primarily Buffalo Sabres tonight. If anything crazy in the Buffalo sports world happens, whether it be with the Sabres or with the Bills, and you're wondering why in the hell am I listening to Talk Buffalo on Monday and you're not addressing that, again, to reiterate, recording this on Thursday night because I am going on a road trip, a big family reunion this weekend in New Jersey, and will not be available to do anything. The Bills play on Saturday, and I won't be able to do a podcast on it, so I don't want to talk about that. Plenty of that coming up on Tuesday's show and beyond. Now that I got that out of the way, I am joined by one of my favorite guests, especially on the hockey side, co-founder of Expected Buffalo, my guy, regular guest on this show, at least recurring guest, I should say, Chad DeDominicis. What's going on, dude? How you doing?
I'm good, man. How are you?
I'm really good. And thank you very much again for doing this taping this on a Thursday night for a Monday drop. Let me tell you something before we get cooking here. All right, so we're going to talk some Buffalo Sabres. I want to find out what you think now that the offseason is pretty much done. What move singularly have you liked and disliked the most? I kind of want to get a list of who you think the top 10 Buffalo Sabres are right now. And I got a handful of questions that fans of the show would like to ask you. I know you put something on Twitter. I saw a couple funny questions, so I kind of want to steal those and ask you those as well on this show. Let me tell you, so real quick though, before we get going here. So this, again, we're taping this on Thursday night, and I am missing right now, again, as we speak anyway, a concert that I really wanted to go to. New Kids on the Block right now at Darien Lake. That's my jam. That's my theme. That's my time frame, man. When I was late teenager, getting ready to be a young adult, that was my shit back in the day. Shame on me for not going there. I have not liked the summer concerts that have been coming to Buffalo for the most part all summer. Really haven't seen shit, to be honest. Let me ask you this. Start here, dude. Kind of random question. What would be your, like, for me, New Kids on the Block is one of my, it's not that they're like my favorite band ever or one of my favorite groups, so don't get it too twisted. But in terms of like nostalgia, a place, you know, a band that really brings you back to a place in time, a happy time in your life when you're a lot younger, stuff like that. What would be like, what group or what artist would come to town that would be like your ultimate kind of like nostalgic concert? Like you would, even if they can't sing anymore, even if their music hasn't been good in years, or maybe it still is, I don't know. But like, what would be like your ultimate nostalgia show that you would love to see in concert if it came through Buffalo?
So I actually got my bucket list show done like a month ago. Red Hot Chili Peppers came through Darien Lake.
Oh,
I am a huge Chili Peppers guy, have been for a long time. I always told my wife that if they ever came close, because usually when they tour, it's either in Europe or, you know, West Coast. They never really get that close to where we are. I saw, you know, I don't know, it was a few months ago, maybe like 6 months ago, that they put the tour out, coming Darien Lake, like we're going. And yeah, like I said, we went and it was great. It was excellent.
how did they sound?
I thought fine, but I mean, it could be me. It could be blinded by like they just play music and I'm in. So yeah, but I thought it was good. The only little disappointing thing is there's a couple songs they didn't play that I was expecting.
Yeah.
Which it is what it is because they have a lot of songs, and there's only so many you can play. But even still, great show. For Darien Lake, at the seats we had were great, right on the aisle, so you can kind of stand in the aisle and have a clear view. Um, I was worried about the venue there, which is hard to get out, but we figured out a way. We parked pretty far away, so it was a decent walk when all was said and done. But like walking there, like with drinks and excited, you didn't think about it, and then walking back, it kind of all went quick. So it worked out. But yeah, that was always my bucket list show was Chili Peppers, and I got that checked off this summer.
And it was like you felt when you were there in the moment, listening to whatever they
Oh
were
yeah,
performing. You felt them like that nostalgic vibe, and it take you back to a place in time where you really loved them.
yep, 100%. The other one is which I'm considering is Green Day. So, but I am like an old Green Day Dookie guy. Like that's my jam too. When I was younger, so they
Mhm.
are going to be in Pittsburgh in September. So I'm debating if I want to make that journey down there. Um,
Nice.
we'll see. But yeah, they're another one that I've always their new stuff not so much. But I guess from what I read, this concert they're on, they're really only playing their old stuff. So that's one of the reasons why it intrigued me to go. So we'll see if I end up going there. It's a back and forth. I feel like every week I go back and forth on committing and pulling the trigger, but I think one day like I'll just be in a Green Day mood and I'll do it. So we'll see though.
One other thing I wanted to get into as well. If you're watching this on the video side anyway, you would notice Chad's got a New York Yankees cap on. Chad is like myself a big Yankees fan, and again, recording this on Thursday, I almost shudder to bring him up because who the hell knows what could happen over the next 3 days. God forbid something happens to him, but your boy Aaron Judge went deep
Oh my
again
god,
on
48, right?
Thursday.
48.
He's got 48 home runs right now. I looked it up. He's got 48 home runs on the season, which, by the way, I mean, what are we? We're taping this anyway, like August 22nd, some crazy shit like that. 48 home runs in 126 games the Yankees have played this year. His pace, as we record this, he's on pace for 62 home runs,
Mm-hmm.
which would tie his career high. 62 home runs, 152 RBIs, and he's batting 334 this season. If that's not unanimous MVP, and they're in
Oh,
first
it's
place
hands
by a
down.
game,
It's hands down.
it's gotta be
Yeah.
unanimous right now. Are you of the mindset? Because I remember, what was it? I think 2017. I think when he maybe hit those 62 home runs. There's a lot of controversy, not controversy, but there's a lot of people who would say that's the true home run record, because of the juice up steroid era. All these with Sosa and McGuire and Bonds going, above 61, which was the record for so many years.
Yeah.
You kind of feel like in your, maybe not as it'll never be official, but like in your heart of hearts, like 62 is the standard.
I mean, yeah, because I'm a Yankees fan, so yeah, I want to say that. But I think realistically, like, I get it, steroids, juicing, the hitters are on steroids, but like, so were the pitchers, like, so like that's the way I always kind of looked at it. Like, yeah, everybody was kind of cheating, so
Mhm.
the hitters were on steroids, the pitchers were on steroids, so it's like maybe it doesn't even out because like the hitters and the juice and whatever. But that's why I was looked at it. But yeah, I mean, the dude's just an absolute monster. It's
It's
insane. And it's
incredible.
not like he's young either. He's I mean for baseball standards, he's not old or anything.
Right.
But it's just wild. And he's playing in center field too every day. Like that's the other crazy part. He's not just hanging out and right. He's playing in center field most days. Everyday player. Um, and it's fun. I usually don't watch a lot of games. I watch the first early in the season and then
Me
throughout
too.
the summer I'll kind of like here and there I'll pick up. And then when playoffs, like around now, I'll start to get back into it when there's races in the playoffs, and the playoffs start in September, October, whatever. Um, but I've watched way more Yankees games this year, I think, than I have in a while.
Yeah.
And I think it's him, Soto too. Like I love Soto, and I hope to God they can keep him. I'm not confident that they can or they will. But I think if they do, that'll be fantastic. Because really, I mean, it's crazy to say about a team that's in first place and one of the best records in baseball, but like that is their team, is those two guys. Like most nights, if they don't do anything, if one doesn't hit a home run, one doesn't have a couple RBIs, like forget it, they're not winning.
Yeah, I
And
couldn't agree more. And it's not, you know what the craziest thing to me about what he's doing is if he was just purely a power hitter, like if he had 48 home runs and 100, whatever he has RBIs already in the year, and say he was hitting 240,
yeah,
245, it's either you go deep, you bomb away, or you're not a good contact hitter. You're not getting on base. He's hitting 334.
yeah,
I
that's how
mean,
it used to be. It used to be it's home run or strikeout. It felt like for him, he's striking out or he's hitting the ball out of the park, and that's just not it this year. And
Bobby
we know,
Witt Jr. is going to stop him from winning the Triple Crown. Bobby Witt Jr. is
yeah,
hitting like
yeah,
352, and
yeah,
he's a phenomenal player in his own right as well. But yeah, that's literally the only thing that's going to stop him. And it's funny to talk about, a dominant New York Yankee, and Aaron Judge, when healthy, has been a dominant Yankee for a very long time now. I think
yeah,
this is his 8th year full season in the league. Growing up, I was a Reggie Jackson guy, and Reggie Jackson was the guy for a handful of years. And of course, during the dynasty, a handful of players, but mainly Derek Jeter. He was like the star.
yeah, yeah.
It's with Aaron Judge. Doesn't it feel like it would be? And I can't believe we're saying this because this is the Yankees who always win or go to the World Series. It always seemed anyway. Wouldn't it be just an absolute travesty if this guy doesn't get to a World Series soon? As
Yeah.
big of a star as he is and as great as he's been, if he doesn't even get to a World Series, what an indictment on Brian Cashman in that front office if they don't.
Yeah, 100%. And the crazy part is like that as I sit here and say like maybe this isn't the greatest team, I feel like this is their best chance though. And I
Mm,
say that for a few reasons because there's no like really in either league, there's no like dominant team this year.
sure.
Pretty open at the top. So really, anybody can do it. And playoff baseball is weird with the way they do it. The 3-game series and the wild cards and things can change quickly on you and flip on you. So I get it, but I mean they have the two horses, and I don't think Judge ever had that secondary horse in Soto, like I said, and that's the crazy part. Like if you take Judge out of here, like Soto is arguably having an MVP season too.
Yeah.
But it's covered up because the guy behind him is a freak. So yeah, I think it's their best chance if they're pitching. And Cole looked pretty good today, so that's good. Maybe he's starting to get in that flow again. Cortez looked good the other night. Um, Heel getting hurt kind of is a bummer. They're getting Chisholm back tomorrow, so that's exciting because that made me nervous when he got hurt. So again, I think getting him back too could help because he was, electric for them when he
Yeah, he
wasn't.
was great. Yeah.
Um, that's another bat, another fielder. And then we'll see if they can figure out first base and get, LeMahieu out of the order. They have a consistent first baseman. Maybe if Rizzo gets back, I saw today he was in Double-A, doing some rehab. So,
Yeah.
I wonder if he might be washed. Anyways, I don't mind Rice, but he's young. But yeah, I mean, I think they have the pieces this year. And like, to your point, like it would stink to waste another year, especially when he's doing as well as he's doing.
Yeah. No
Or
question
even if they
about
don't win, just get the dude there. Like let him, have his moment, right? I would even accept that.
I'll tell you what, and I agree with you 100% that this may be their best chance for a combination of there is no dominant team this year. And also, it's no guarantee as much as we both hope it happens. There's no guarantee that Soto signs long term.
Yeah.
So, that guy's going to get, absurd money.
I keep
This
forgetting he's
offseason.
26. Like it's insane
Oh,
how young he still is.
yeah, it is. I will say, though, if we want to nitpick one thing about Aaron Judge, in fairness, I just said it would be a travesty if he doesn't get to a World Series with the way he's played. I just looked it up before he went on the air here. He could do his own end in the playoffs
Yeah.
as well. He's got to help them when he gets to be the postseason. I looked it up. Aaron Judge has only hit 211 for his
Strikeout
career
machine.
in the postseason. 171 at bats. He's hitting just 211, 13 home runs, 25 RBIs in 44 games. So
So when you see that
hopefully,
pitching every night, things change, when you're getting those 1, 2, 3 guys every single night.
sure.
Yeah.
I kind of think of A-Rod in a way. A-Rod was, he won MVP. It seemed like every other year during the regular season, and then he would melt in the playoffs. But then in
So
2009,
that 1 year when they won, right?
yeah,
That's
2009, they put it all together, and A-Rod kind
yeah.
of put the team on his back
Yeah.
and did it. And hopefully that's what we'll see with Aaron Judge. I say that now. We're taping this on Thursday. They're probably going to lose 3 in a row, and Soto will sprain his ankle or some shit like that. I kind
No,
of
don't
feel
put
like
that out there. Come on.
All right, let's switch gears here. I want to talk some Sabres with you. Let me ask you this. Like I said, the offseason, short of a trade happening right now, is for all intents and purposes over.
Mhm.
And haven't had a John since like moves started. So to kind of catch up our audience here, our watchers, our listeners, what has been your singular favorite move that the team has made this summer, whether it's a draft, a free agent signing, a trade, whatever it may be, and what have you liked the least about what the Sabres have done or haven't done this offseason? Kind of a loaded question.
Yeah, I'm trying to figure out how we want to start. We want to start positively or end on a good note. Let's start negatively and end positively.
Okay.
So least like, so here's how I'm gonna put it, because I don't really like hate anything they actually did.
Mhm.
But what I will say I least like is the Skinner buyout, and it's not because they bought out Skinner. That's not why. It's because they bought out Skinner and they're seemingly not going to use the benefit on the salary cap by doing so. This year is the year that you get the biggest cap benefit from buying him out. And they're sitting here. I mean, Peyton Krebs still has to sign, but it's going to be $1 million or less. You're going to be sitting there with $7.5, $8 million in cap space. This is just, it's bananas to me. And there's the whole debate. As even said, that was a question about it, like the whole internal cap thing. And I don't know. Like, I don't know. If nobody has told me, there's been whispers. I've never been able to confirm it. People I've talked to who know people can confirm it. I can only go off of what I see. And what I've seen, I did an article about it maybe a month ago, on their spending, is a team that spends like the now no longer existent Arizona Coyotes, a team that spends like the Anaheim Ducks. And I get it. The last couple of years leading up to it, rebuilding team, fine, good. You have a lot of guys entry level contracts. Keep your salary cap down. That's just the way it works. But ever since they missed by a point, still being 27th, 26th in spending, after you were that close to making the playoffs, I think is concerning. And it's not so much like I want them to go out and just spend to prove that they're spending. Obviously, you got to get the right players. But it's, I don't know. This is like, I don't want to say this is the second summer where he's done nothing, because he didn't do nothing. He made a trade. He signed some guys.
Right.
But just, again, it's not enough for the second year in a row. Simply not enough. So to wrap it back in, to pull it back in, the Skinner thing overall, for that very reason, I think is the epitome and like kind of like the symbol of not doing enough this offseason. Would be what I like the least. And if I say what I like the most, probably the McLeod trade.
Okay.
I wasn't the biggest fan of Matt Savoy, so that didn't really eat me up that he was moved. And I think McLeod is going to be good for this team. I think he's going to fit what they're going to ask him to do, in terms of defensively and being it's not the production's ever going to be there, but I think his underlying stuff, the stuff that doesn't necessarily show up in the score sheet, is going to be a big thing for a guy they're going to ask for a lot of in terms of being a two-way player. So I think that was a good fit. That was a good grab for a third line center. So I would, I think I would classify that as my favorite.
Let me follow up with the Skitter thing here and the potential like internal cap and all the cap space that they got.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think that maybe some of the reason why they still have that money and haven't spent it, and to your point, you said they're not going to spend it just to spend it because they have it, nor do you think they should do that? You pretty much just said that. Do you think it's possible it's because players that they would be willing to spend that money on at this point in time simply don't want to come to Buffalo? If it's free agency is pretty much over, but early in free agency, some of these guys just weren't willing to come here. Or in hockey, and maybe you could explain this. I mean, you follow other sports, you cover hockey, but you follow other sports as well. So many more players, it seems to me, in the NHL have some form of no trade than any other sport. And it's not even close. Yeah. But just being generally speaking, like all the guys that are valuable assets at the Sabres, I almost said the Bills, the Sabres would be willing to shell out $4, $5, $6 million for this player or whatever. They ain't waving. They're no trade. They don't want to come here. So do you think that might play a role in it? And also, like I said, kind of a follow-up too. Maybe you can explain it to the average casual fan. Like, why do so many hockey players get these no trades? How does that happen? Good for them though.
Yeah, well, yeah, right. So yeah, I think there's certainly some guys, and I know of such players that people that like people know about and people that don't know about, that have decided they don't want to come here. And that's fine. And it's not just a Buffalo thing either, by the way. Like there's other teams, even some more prominent teams that they just don't want to go to. That's the way it
Mhm.
is, and that's your right. Which we'll get to that in a minute, but I don't think it's as extreme as people think. I think a lot of it sometimes when they don't get a player is, oh well, the Sabres probably tried, but he didn't want to come here. Well, you know, like I think
Right.
like Natchez is the guy for that. We talked about him before, I think too, our last time we spoke.
Yeah.
There's a lot of reports that the Sabres were trying to get him, and he didn't want to come here, and like that's not true. Like they really weren't after him at all. So I think a lot of that stuff I think gets tied into it. It makes it a bigger thing than it actually is. But I'm not denying either that that is part of the struggle that Adams has to deal with, and so does your organization, and that's why they lean so heavily into drafting, developing, and their own guys, and the guys that want to be here thing and all of that. Like okay. Um, but there's not everybody doesn't have one of those no trade clauses or free agents, or
Right.
you can find guys, you can make it work. Winnipeg, who's just like Buffalo in terms of people not wanting to go there for maybe a different reason, um, they find ways to make trades, find ways to make things happen. So you just that's your job as a general manager. Like I get it, it's a tough situation, it's a tough role that you're in. Having to deal with that variable, but at the end of the day, man, it's your job to get it done. And if you can't get it done, then I got to find somebody else who will. And then
Right.
that's plainly what it comes down to for me. On the no trade clause thing, that started a few years ago, become really prevalent, and now it's really it's kind of surprising if you get a contract that doesn't have it. Um, in some regards, and I think it started to general managers have tried to pull it back a little bit. There used to be guys who would sign new contracts, third, fourth liners, that they would sign like a 4-year deal, and all 4 years you would have no trades or no trade clause of some kind, 10-team, 5-team list, or no move clauses in general. Which so people understand no move and no trade are different. A no move clause means that you can't even put a guy on waivers, like not unless they agree. No move literally means no move. A no trade clause means you could waive a guy if it came to that point, and they have a list of teams, whether it's 5 teams that they'll approve to, or 5 teams they won't approve to, or 10 or 15 or 12, whatever the agreed upon number is. And then sometimes within a contract, it changes too. So in the first 3 years, it could be you have a 10-team no trade list, and then in the last 2 years, it comes down to a 5-team no trade list. Or in the Sabres situation, they flipped it with Luukkonen. He doesn't have a no trade clause for the first, I think, 3 years of the 5-year deal, but he
Mhm.
has it the last 2 years. So you logically think in your head, well, that's weird. Why would you do that? Well, Luukkonen in negotiating says, hey, I have Devin Levi behind me. In 3 years, 2 years, the Sabres could be done with me. I want to have control where I go. So that's part of the negotiation process and what's been built into it.
Right.
But yeah, to your point, it's crazy how many players have it. I think general managers are trying to rope it back in now and like doing what we're seeing with Luukkonen, where it's not your full contract. It's maybe at the end or at the beginning, or they wean the no trade, list down from 10 to 5 and stuff like that as they start to build, look towards the future, maybe change some things where they're going.
Okay. Makes sense. All right, let's do this. Let's take a quick break, come back. I want to get your top 10 Buffalo Sabres on this team right now as things currently stand. We'll see if there's going to be a couple surprises along the way. So we'll talk about that right after this break. All right, I am back here with Chad DeDominicis from Expected Buffalo. I want to get your top 10 Sabres. I mean, that's a basic ass question. I know that, like I said, I got a handful of questions that fans wanted to ask as well. We'll get to those. And it says, and again, I don't want to keep you here all night long. So we'll kind of just like run through the list. I kind of feel like I know what number 1 and number 2 are probably going to be. I'm really going to start to get interested in what you have to say after 1 and 2. But go ahead, man. Get after it. What do you got?
Okay. We'll start from the top and work our way down.
Yep.
So one is Darlene. I think he's the best player in the team,
Hmm.
which I'm sure is what you expected.
Yep.
Two, I'm curious if this is who you thought I was going to say, but Tage is number two for me.
Yeah, I had him at 2.
Okay, all right. So those are my top 2.
Okay.
3 is going to be Owen Power.
Owen Power. Okay.
He's my number 3 guy.
Why is he so high? Well, not along. Yeah, I mean, we don't need, to get too deep into the woods here, but I'm intrigued. I trust your opinion a hell of a lot more than mine. You cover the team. I watch them casually. So I will always put more stock into what you feel about this team than what I feel myself. But I'm a little bit surprised. Like, I kind of had my own little predictions on where I think you might slot guys. And I had him at least a handful of slots lower. But what makes him number 3 for you?
So not only is where he's at now, I think it's the potential that where he can go to as a player.
Okay.
Look, here's the thing with Owen Power. Right now he is an exceptional player. Don't get me wrong, there's still some things at 21 years old that he has to work on. That is expected for a defenseman who has only played 2 years in this league. And there's still some things cleaning up. And if you remember how Darlene was 2 years ago, 3 years ago, there was people who said they wanted to trade him as he was like trying to work in these things, but now he's 24 years old and he's fantastic. I don't think Power is ever going to get to that Darlene level, especially from an offensive standpoint, just not his game at all. But the thing with Power is that I think people, I don't want to like be rude and say normal people who don't like understand like nuances of things, because that's not really fair. But I
know what you're saying.
I think the best way to put it is there's certain things that he does in a game, in transition, defensively, especially offensively, that won't always show up on the score sheet or won't really be noticeable. It's how he moves through the offensive zone without the puck, draws people to him, looks for open lanes, his vision, the way he's able to quickly flip defense into offense, the way he's able to get up in the rush, the way he moves at 6'6" is underrated. It doesn't seem like he's moving that fast, but really, like when you watch him live, he is flying at that size because of his stride and everything. There's a lot of nuances, just what he does on the ice to generate offense, to help maintain possession. It's just, it doesn't always show up as flashy. He's not a flashy guy. That's not what he's going to do. And his biggest knock is always going to be he's 6'6", but he's not physical. And that was what I really tried to hammer home when he came out of college and they drafted him, is it's going to become a criticism sooner rather than later. He is just not a guy at 6'6" who you're going to see just blast guys. Not his game. Not what he does. Not what he's ever going to do. Now, I agree at 6'6", you got to lean on people. You got to use your size more. I think as the year went on, he started to do that. So maybe use your body more to shield pucks in the defensive zone. Lean on a guy against the wall to get possession back, or have your forwards come take possession back of the puck while you're leaning on a guy. Definitely. I think those are areas he can certainly work on in terms of using his size. But if you're someone who thinks, he's going to go bowl guys over, just that's not him. You're always going to be disappointed because that's just not ever going to come from him. It's not who he is.
I was, as you're describing Power, why you would have him third and talking about things that the average person won't see or things that don't show up a lot of times on the score sheet. I started thinking about the football side of things a couple years ago, and a lot of Tremaine Edmonds, people who were high on him, would point to the fact that don't just look at the stats. He does a lot of little things that you won't see on a score sheet. He will take away a part of the football field in the passing game that a quarterback won't even throw to. So he's not even defending passes or stuff like that. Little things like that. So I kind of got that vibe going in my mind when you were describing Power. That's a really good point. All right, so you got Darlene, Tage, Power.
Yep. Four.
I'm writing these down on a little sticky so I can refer back to them.
I'm battling between two guys right now. And one of them is a goaltender. I'll give Luukkonen 4.
Okay. I had him 4 on my list too, for what it's worth.
I'll give him 4. I'll buy into it and think that he can be their number 1 for a couple years moving forward. So I'll give him 4.
Okay.
So that means at 5, I'm going to go Tuck. I think he has a nice bounce back year this year. At 6, I'm going to go Paterka.
Paterka. Okay. really promising last year. I mean, he looks like a star in the making, and he bumped Jeff Skinner down, and he took over that spot on that top line. Okay,
If he stays healthy,
Mhm.
I'm gonna go Jack Quinn at 7.
7 would be Jack Quinn.
Needs to stay healthy.
I like this. Kind of feels like a real time fantasy draft right now. Like you're on the clock and you're trying to figure out who your options are. All right, so you go Paterka 6, Quinn 7. 5% surprising. I would have thought maybe it would have been the other way around, Quinn Paterka, but yeah, JJ really came on last year, and Quinn does have more health issues or health risk, I should say. At this point.
Yeah, I think that's why Paterka had the injury stuff alone.
Okay, so we got through 7, so we got 3 more to go.
Oh boy. Going through 2 guys here again. I'll give Dylan Cousins 8 because I think he's going to come back this year.
Mhm.
At least I hope so. So I'll go Dylan Cousins 8.
Chad, does he feel like a guy like right now you have him at 8? 2 years ago, if we would have did this list, I would have been like, wow, you only got Dylan Cousins 8?
Yeah, he'd be like 4.
But he kind of, his play went down some last year for a variety of reasons. But does he feel like the kind of guy where you have him 8 right now, and 12 months from now, he could easily be 3 or 4 again? Does he got that upside to you?
100%. Yep, I think he does. I just think a lot kind of went wrong for him. The injury when he got into the fight and got his face smashed. I don't think he ever really recovered from that.
Right.
And really, God, I really have not seen a guy have worse puck luck throughout the entire season than what he had at times. So I think some of that kind of bounces back for him.
Okay.
Again, at least I hope so, because they needed to. So I'll go him at 8. We'll go Zach Benson at 9.
I had him at 9 too. Okay.
And then we'll round out number 10 with another guy who I think is really, really, really important for them this year, that they need to hope that it works, and that's Bowen Byram.
Byram? Yep.
Yeah, they need that to work for them. So I'll give him. There's really nobody. Maybe McLeod, I could argue, could be 10. Very close, I guess you could say. But I really think once you get past that 10, there's a lot of kind of everybody's all pretty the same.
Sure.
Levi could be a guy. Maybe he jumps to 10 if he plays a handful of games and he jumps in the top 10 next year. But as a backup and still, I think, unproven at the NHL level, I'm not ready to put him there yet.
All right, let me read off Chad's top 10 Buffalo Sabres right now. And again, I got them real fancy here and on a little sticky. So you got Darlene 1, Tage Thompson 2, Owen Power 3, UPL 4, Alex Tuck 5, JJ Paterka 6, Jack Quinn 7, Dylan Cousins 8. You got Benson 9 and Byram 10. I wrote down my own list too. And it wasn't really that, you're the hockey analyst, you're the hockey guy. I'm not. Again, I admit this openly. I'm a Sabres fan. I follow the team. I got to talk about them, so I watch them as much as possible, but I'm certainly no hockey guru. But my list wasn't all that different than yours. All right, so I had Darlene 1, I had Tage 2. You had Tuck 5. I had Tuck 3.
Okay.
Then I got you. We both had UPL 4. I got Cousins at 5. Although if I'm basing it on last year, 8 feels a lot better. Then I had Quinn at 6 and Paterka, I had Power all the way down to 7, whereas you had him 3. So that was the biggest discrepancy. I'm one of those guys who you were referring to, not being condescending towards some people, but he does a lot of things that you don't see or that don't show up.
He's the 3rd best play driver on this team right now.
Yeah. Is he really? See,
yes.
I don't know that. I had him 7. And then I had Paterka 8, Benson 9, and Byram 10. All right, I want to get to a couple of Twitter questions from fans of yours before we get out of here. One of them, and a couple of these, again, you put out something, a little Q&A. I think you were having a lunch
exercise walk
or something, a little exercise walk. It's pretty cool to do that, by the way, man. Especially
it makes time go by faster. Yeah. Walking downtown. Yeah.
I had a thought that popped in my mind, and I'll beat myself up if I don't ask you this, because I've been going at it with fans for all week long now, basically. Because, well, it's nice out when we're recording this Thursday, but earlier in the week it was cold.
Yeah.
How do you feel about when it's August and it's cold to the point where you almost have to wear like a fleece or a hoodie? Does that excite you? Are you happy even this time of year?
No.
Are you happy to get that break?
No.
Are you ready to wear hoodies and drink pumpkin spice lattes and put Halloween decorations up on your porch yet?
Not even a little bit.
So you're Team Patrick then with this beef.
I mean, I don't want to say give me summer all year long, but if it never gets cold, I'm fine.
Yeah, dude, it's okay. Like if your fall is elite, that's okay. But guess what? It's August 20th when this beef started anyway, man. Let's pump the brakes a little bit. To me, summer ends September 22nd. My guideline is week 1 of the NFL season. If you want to start hoping it gets colder at that point, cold enough to comfortably, wear that hoodie and shorts, that weather, and drink your pumpkin spice, fall season shit like that. That's cool. But don't be doing it in August. Don't be celebrating the fact that on August 20th, it's cold out, especially when you live in a town like this. When I lived in Florida, different story. You have a closet with hoodies and stuff. You get to wear them like 7-8 times a year.
Yeah.
So you're happy for that. But right now, it's like, God, let's enjoy being nice out for just a couple more months. Plus, it's hasn't been like the greatest summer either, man. There's been a lot of cloudy days here.
Cloudy, rainy, yeah.
Buffalo summer. See,
I've never been a falls elite guy. Like September is nice. September is nice. Then like in October, it's wet.
It's cold, man.
It's wet and cold all the time.
No, I agree.
And that's the worst. The rain and the cold. That's the worst, man. You get that for 2 months. And then
Well,
you get snow and
you're an ally of mine, and we're in the minority, my friend, because most people are beating us up for having these takes. All right, let me ask you. So, Maniac, shout out Trainwreck Sports. And I don't know if you answered some of these on Twitter or not. I went through your status. I was like, this is a pretty good question. I said, Maniac from Trainwreck Sports asked you, if Jack Quinn plays 70-plus games, how many goals does he score?
Yeah, that was when I did answer, and I said 27.
27?
27. It would be higher if I felt like he would get more power play time. But looking at this team, I still think, we're going to have Tage, Cousins. Paterka's going to get his talk, and then you have your defensemen. Are they going to go with 2 defensemen in the second pair to give power? And Byram's a good power play guy to give him that. And then how much is there for Tage? And they traditionally don't play their second unit as much as they play their first unit. So even if he does get that time, I don't think it's going to be that much. So yeah, I think 27 is a good, fair number.
Okay. Joey said, if the Sabres miss the playoffs, can Sean McDermott be fired for it?
Yeah. I said yes. Yes is my answer.
Yeah, yes is definitely your answer. Now, this is one of those where it's a shame that we're recording this on Thursday night and it's not dropping on Monday because it's going to be old news right now. But the political TV buzz on Thursday night as we were recording this is there's going to be a surprise guest at the final night of the DNC. My guy, Tone Plucks, his question for Chad DeDominicis is, who will be the surprise DNC performer tonight?
Oh, that's a good one. That's a good
Which,
one.
by the way, it hasn't happened yet. So you can throw someone out there and we'll see in a couple of days if you were right or not.
Yeah. Do I want to be funny or do I want to have a real guess? Oh man. How do I want to be here? How do I want to go? I honestly can't think of a super funny one, so maybe I'll try to do a real guess. Democratic National Convention. Who would they bring in? I saw like Taylor Swift obviously was one. I saw Beyonce recently was another one.
Mm.
You know what? I'll go a somewhat funny one / maybe you never know because he's everywhere. Literally. I'll go Snoop Dogg.
Snoop Dogg?
He's everywhere.
That'd be good.
He's everywhere.
As we're recording this right now, Pink just performed. My surprise guest was, and I know Taylor Swift is an obvious one. I think I read Beyonce is going to be a performance. I don't know if that would be a surprise. I said The Rock. I think The Rock would be Dwayne Johnson, would be a big name, huge following. He'd come out and, kind of answer. Hulk Hogan was at the GOP, the Republican convention, talking his shit. It would be pretty funny from a wrestling standpoint if The Rock did the same on the Democratic side. Little sidebar, too. I put out so Creed Humphrey from the Kansas City Chiefs just signed a contract 4 years, like 72 million, 50 million guaranteed.
Mhm.
Sarcastically, I put out big W for Brandon Beane because Brandon Beane was smart enough to take Boogie Basham 2 picks before Creed Humphrey. So Brandon Beane saved the Bills $50 million guaranteed by signing or by drafting Boogie instead. I said big dubs for the Bills. I clearly said that tongue in cheek, and I'm kind of getting dragged a little bit right now on social media for my joke. Some people did not think that was a joke. All right, a couple more.
Use the sarcasm font next time.
Oh yeah, for sure. All right. Where was it? I know I had a couple more. Depressed Buffalo, a surprise breakout candidate for the Sabres this season.
Yeah, so I'll go with the same answer I give on that one. I'll word it the same way I did. I don't know if will be a surprise. I think maybe some people expect it, but I went with Benson. I think he has the potential to score 20 plus goals next season.
Yeah, that'd be good. I mean, he's going to be on that third line, right?
I think maybe the second line, depending what they do with Zucker. We'll see. So, yeah.
Okay.
He'll get his chances.
Got one more question I want to ask you. Well, not me. This is from someone else. And then I'll spend the last like 5 minutes or so. I talk general football because, again, we got to be real careful because, we're recording this a couple days before it drops and something could happen with the Bills. Where is it? This was a good one. This is a burning question. This is something I'm going to be honest with you. I got to find in there and make sure I ask you the right question. I've wondered about this. Here's the big question. So your Twitter handle is at CM DeDominicis, okay?
Mm-hmm.
The big dumb QB wants to know, what does the M stand for?
The M stands for, I did see this one, and same thing. I tried to think of a funny thing and I really couldn't because I was doing something else before this started. So I'll just tell the truth. The M stands for the middle initial of my name.
Okay, that's what I thought, man.
Yeah,
but that's a
I actually legitimately forgot that it was in there until the person asked the question. I'm like, M. I'm like, oh, there is an M in there. Like I did not remember I did that.
All right, before I let you go here, 5 quick minutes. I want to talk general Buffalo Bills because I'm not going to get a chance to talk to you before the season starts. And again, I mean, you primarily are known and you are a hockey guy, but you also, of course, follow baseball and you follow the Bills pretty closely as well. We have to be careful. We have to talk generally speaking here, just in case, you never know what could happen over the next couple of days. This will go on video late Sunday night, podcast first thing Monday morning. The cuts won't even be doing out by then. But how are you feeling about this team right now? Okay, so we've watched them through training camp. We've watched them through 2 preseason games. You kind of get an idea what this roster is going to look and feel like. Not an impressive preseason, but let's remember it's the preseason. So, but the injuries have certainly been a factor in a major way because of Matt Milano in a lot of nagging ways with some of these other guys in positions, guys that are missing a couple days or in some cases a couple weeks. But all in all, you're looking at this roster right now. How you feeling about it going into the start of the regular season soon?
The way I put it a few days ago, which I think people thought I was asking for their bets, which I wasn't, was this team is going to do one of 2 things. And I don't see any gray area. They're going to miss the playoffs or they're going to go to or win the Super Bowl. Like those are the 2.
Wow.
That's for me. Like there's really no gray area, I think. And a lot of people are like, oh, well, no, they'll just go lose in the division round again. Like, okay, yeah, maybe. But I don't. It's weird because like all these last couple of years where there's the hype that they're the Super Bowl favorite and all this, and they never got there. And it kind of reminds me of Kansas City in a sense last year. Like last year was supposed to be Kansas City's step back year. And 100%. They did to an extent. And then you just get in and you never know. And that's kind of how football really, it's how all playoffs are. You just got to get in and your quarterback gets stupid or your defense gets crazy and you're on your way. And that's one of the reasons why a couple of years ago, the 13 seconds game really still eats at me because that was the year your quarterback got stupid, but your coach somehow managed to defeat him still on his own. But that was their year. I mean, it's the 506 Sabres, like all over again. Like, that was your year, man. Like that was it. That was your window, and it got away from you. But yeah, I mean, there's as long as 17 plays, I think you're I want to say fine. Um, of course, I have concerns about the receiver group. Especially with the Samuel injury, the toe injury. That's not ideal.
Yeah,
Um,
because that's an injury that lingers. If it was an
yeah,
arm, a shoulder, something like that, you get healthy, you're healthy. A turf toe has the potential to be something that can nag you an entire season, even.
yeah, and Coleman hasn't looked that. I mean, he has. I mean, it's hard to judge any of these wide receivers because Allen's played a series and a half, and the quarterbacks behind him are just
Exactly.
not good. They
Sure.
don't throw the ball to anybody, or
Yeah.
they can't. So it's hard to judge the receivers, but like Coleman hasn't shown a ton, and I get in practices he's looked good, and okay, fine. Um, but yeah, I mean, I think you have to hope Shakir has a big season. I think you have to hope Kincaid, which I am a big Kincaid fan. I think he's going to be really good for them. Um, that comes through, and then James Cook is decent again. And then defensively, like I get the Milano thing is a big thing, and I'm not going to downplay that. But at the same time, he missed the majority of last season,
Sure.
and the defense was fine. I mean, Sean McDermott, for all of the criticisms that I have against him, um, dude can cook up a defense. Like it doesn't really matter what isn't there because that defense was beat up a lot of last season, and it still held its own for the most part.
Yeah.
Eventually, in the Kansas City game, like it
finally crumbled.
became too much, right? When you
Yeah,
have
they crumbled at the end. Too
AJ
many
Klein
injuries.
out there chasing players around, like I
Right.
get it. But still, I mean that guy can craft the defense. So the defense, I'm not that concerned about. Maybe they're not going to be as dominant as they have been in years past, but I think they'll be good enough as long as the offense can go and Josh can drag that team along. And maybe Joe Brady's awesome. We don't know. We'll find that out. But yeah, I'm. But you look at it again, like it's the Jets. I think are going to be decent. I'd like to hope that Rodgers is shot, but I'm not sure that he is. And then Miami, I still think has the potential to be there. So your division's harder. And I think the conference overall is harder now. You're going to have the Texans are going to be a better team. Burrow is back in Cincinnati. Pittsburgh, well, I wouldn't say Pittsburgh is something to worry about, but they somehow always have a winning record at least.
Sure.
So we'll see what the Browns are if they can have Watson back or he's shot. I guess that doesn't really matter either because he never plays and they're still a good team. So yeah, I mean, there's better teams around the AFC,
Yeah.
so it makes it more difficult. Definitely a more difficult path to go through because I don't think you're going to get. I want to say I don't think you're going to get more than one home game because they could still win the division and get at least one. But it even wouldn't shock me if they were a wild card team and had to work their way through on the road. And maybe that's not the worst thing for them, to go about it that way too.
I feel, and look, I'll be talking about them plenty over the next week or two here on the show leading up to the season. My general take right now on this team is I'm almost the opposite. I actually think the offense is going to be in better shape than most people give credit for, largely because of Josh Allen. Josh Allen will make pretty good receivers look more than pretty good. I love Dalton Kincaid, to your point. Dawson Knox being healthy is going to be a big deal. The offensive line is going to be pretty good. I like Shakir. Samuel is obviously going to be a key. Coleman to do some things.
I worry about center a little bit. I'm a little nervous about center.
Yeah, for sure. I guess it depends on how you truly feel about Mitch Morse. So, but what you can't deny is that was his best line last year, and to lose your center and your leader, potentially is a big deal. But I like Ray Davis a lot. I think he's going to be a big upgrade over Latavius Murray. So I feel good about the offense. I don't feel as good about the defense as other people, in part because of Matt Milano. Although, to your point, this can't be overstated enough either. He did miss most of last year. Even before this injury, he was ramping up, but there is no guarantee Matt Milano is going to come out week 1 and be 2022 all-pro version of Matt Milano. We've seen with major injuries with this team, it takes some time. So he already was a concern. I am very concerned about the safety position. Injuries or not. Mike Edwards, was never sold on him. I mean, he could be okay. I'm not a big Taylor Rapp guy, so I had a lot of concerns about the safety position. Does Von Miller, even though he's healthier now and he's looking fine running around at camp, has he got anything left? Greg Rizzo, I like him, but is his ceiling, is he Is he that 7-8 sack guy? And that's pretty much what you're going to see from him every year. Ditto AJ Epinesa. I just feel like there's a lot of questions on defense right now, or at least things that concern me.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I'm not really worried
ready to
about Russo. I think Russo is having a big year. The way,
I
especially
hope
the
so.
way he manhandled. I felt bad for that Steelers right tackle in that game. I
Roger
mean,
Jones.
he tossed him around like a baby. Like that was rough.
Yeah, he did.
For that guy.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think he'll be fine.
Okay. We'll see how things play out, of course. Like I said, we have tons of Bills coverage here over the next couple weeks. If you haven't done so already, make sure you follow Chad on Twitter at DeDominicis. Check out Expected Buffalo. Before I let you go, Joe, I want you to talk a little bit about that because I know that you guys are ramping that up, especially this time of year between the site and also with podcasting stuff. So before I send us off here with the outro music, tell people what you got going on with that.
Yeah, we have a lot of changes, and we've kind of been pushing them the last few weeks as we start to head into things here. So to your point, the podcast portion, we're going to really start to lean into that more this year. A lot of good feedback I wanted at the end of last year with those, almost daily 15, 20-minute episodes. We're definitely going to keep doing that. More YouTube stuff. We have some, I've gone to school this summer on learning a lot of things. So we're going to start maybe implementing some YouTube video kind of things now that we have ESPN Plus, where we can grab clips easier than in the past. So we're going to start to lean in that a little bit. More Amherst content. So we have that exclusive tracking data that we do. We're going to add more and then more fancy charts around that. We have some fancy prospect charts we're working on. And then our usual typical stuff that we do from a written standpoint, that'll continue too. So really there's a lot of good changes coming. YouTube's going to be a big thing. Podcasts are going to be a big thing for us. So we're definitely going to be pushing hard and heavy here. So a lot of fun stuff coming this year. I'm Nick. I put I'm all in this year on trying to hit some of the growth goals that we have that we talked about over the summer. The team.
Sure.
So we're really going to push a lot of those things, and we're excited about it. And I hope the team lives up to it, because if they have a slow start, that can really be deflating. So hopefully they're not terrible to start. Like let's at least be okay. But I think a really bad start would be pretty deflating right out of the gate.
Yeah, I'm excited to see how the team plays this year, of course, and I'm very excited to see what you guys do over at Expected Buffalo. Again, for Chad DeDominicis, I'm Patrick Moran. Thank you very much for watching and for listening. We'll be back. Joe from Queens will be on a brand new episode tomorrow. I'll talk to you guys then.